Good evening from the Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Terry Swales. We're continuing to track strong thunderstorms that are now moving into our northwestern counties. And we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that is still in effect for Chickasaw County. And you can see on the radar a lot of lightning associated with the storm. We've had some wind gusts just west of Charles City reported as high as 80 miles per hour. So this also has the potential of producing winds, large hail, and very heavy rainfall. And flash flooding would be a possibility in Chickasaw County, which is just now entering the western fringes of that part of our viewing area. So the storm looks pretty good on the actual radar. It looks even better in person. Our own Nick is out there, Nick Stewart. He's chasing the thunderstorms today, meteorologist Nick Stewart, and he's got some pictures that are looking at right now that are live, and we're going to be in contact with Nick shortly, and he can tell us what he's seeing out there. Nick, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Terry.
All right, well, why don't you tell us what you're seeing and where you've been?
We picked up this storm that was between about Nashua and Marble Rock. I'm hearing a bit of an echo there, so I'm trying to avoid that. But we're heading south out of Nashua, heading towards Plainfield. For the time being, the storm is primarily a wind threat. All right, I think we got rid of the echo problem. The wind is primarily a wind threat right now. It heads towards areas like New Hampton. We had many reports of wind gusts over about 70 miles per hour. So that's going to be the really big thing. You can notice we start looking more into the core, the dark blues. Definitely some pretty large signs of very large hail and extremely heavy rainfall. So obviously the flash flooding is another concern with this storm.
So it looks to me like you're in extreme southwest Chickasaw County, almost on the county line there, correct?
You were breaking up a little bit there, but I think you're asking about it becoming kind of outflow dominant. At least on this part of the storm, it does appear to be becoming more outflow dominant, meaning that that cold air from the storm is kind of rushing out ahead of it. And that's frequently why you see these shower clouds, which is kind of what you're looking at right now. They're scary looking clouds, but it's not really a sign of tornadic activity. It's kind of more so a sign of wind activity. And so we're going to keep a close eye on it. There's kind of redevelopment happening towards like the extreme southwestern Floyd County that we're be starting to kind of try to head in that direction for the time being.
All right, Nick, well, some amazing pictures there. And as you guys reposition, we'll go back to the radar one time here. And then, of course, we'll be back with you later on, particularly in our 6 o'clock newscast, when we'll update our viewers as to what's going on. But at least in our northeastern counties, we do have a tornado watch in effect. That's roughly Highway 20 north, and that is going to be out until 10 o'clock tonight. So conditions are favorable for strong storms with not only wind and hail, but potentially some tornado spin-ups. And we've had a couple confirmations of tornadoes further to the west of Charles City, but nothing within the past half an hour or 45 minutes. One new storm that's developing there, not too far away from Greene, looks like it's got a pretty good hail core, so that one is deepening a little bit and intensifying. That'll be also moving southeast and heading towards Greene and Plainfield over the next 45 minutes. So it's quite possible that some new warnings will ultimately be issued. But for the moment, mostly severe thunderstorm warnings, high winds, and perhaps some hail. And our thunderstorm warning continues in effect until 6 o'clock for Chickasaw and Floyd counties. And stay tuned. We'll be back with live pictures as we go through the afternoon and evening hours. Back in the Weather Center, Chief Meteorologist Terry Swales. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued, and this will be out for Butler County, and that's going to be till 6:45 this evening. You can see a strong thunderstorm now to the west of Greene, and not too far away from Marble Rock. That'll be moving east-southeast across northern Butler County, and eventually that should head towards northern sections of Bremer County by around 6:45 to 7 o'clock tonight. Torrential rain associated with that storm, and a lot of places have seen wind gusts of 60 to 75 miles an hour in parts of Floyd County and back into northwestern Butler County. So that is a strong storm to say the least, and it's likely going to produce some high winds and perhaps some hail, pretty good hail core there just to the west of Greene. So all of this is part of a large area of thunderstorms beginning to develop up across northern and northeastern Iowa. It's going to move southeast as we go through the evening hours and impact much of eastern Iowa. Short term, a tornado watch in effect until 10 o'clock tonight for most of the area around Highway 20 and on to the north near the Minnesota border. We're watching the situation closely, and we'll be back with updates in just a few minutes. And from the Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Terry Swales. A brand new severe thunderstorm warning to put out, and that is for Alameda County in the northeastern corner of the state. As we go into our radar here, you'll be able to see that strong storms are developing now in Winneshiek County, and those will be advancing off to the east. And these are the ones that have had a history of producing some strong winds as they've moved through Floyd County and parts of Chickasaw County. So the threat is there for wind gusts of at least 60 miles an hour and perhaps some hail. These are part of a line of thunderstorms that extend back to the southwest to just northwest of Waterloo, and that whole line will be moving into our northern and eastern counties and should be around then through the evening hours tonight. And again, severe weather is a possibility further south and east in our viewing area. Also, you can see a warning there has been issued for parts of Fayette County, and Owine's involved in that. There's West Union in there as well. So severe thunderstorms certainly a possibility in that area until at least 7:30 tonight. So the bottom line is strong storms are moving through our northern counties. Those will be heading southeast into the rest of the area. Stay tuned. We're likely to see more warnings around eastern Iowa. Good evening from the Weather Center. Meteorologist Terry Swales here. A brand new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued, and this is now for Clayton County. So we have two big warnings there in the northeastern corner of the state. One is out for Alameda County until 7:30, and now the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Clayton County until 8:30 tonight. And if you look just to the west of those two counties, you can kind of see a bowing feature there, that red that extends from the Minnesota border just east of Decorah and then back to West Union. Most likely there's some winds in there in the range of 40 to perhaps 60 miles an hour. So wind damage is the primary threat as that bow moves off to the southeast. So our brand new warning now for Clayton County until 8:30 this evening. Also looking back to the southwest, another storm is located near Waterloo, and our Nick Stewart is out there. He's shooting live video right now, and we're going to take a look at that. And you can see a rain-free base, a lowering cloud there that could signify a developing wall cloud. That storm just north of Waterloo. So far, not a lot of fast rotation there, but you can certainly see some strong storms in that part of our viewing area there, especially in northern Black Hawk County. So we're keeping a close eye on that, and we'll be back with some live pictures if something develops out of that storm. But at least for now, our current warning is out for Clayton County until 8:30 this evening. This is meteorologist Terry Swales in the Weather Center, where we continue to watch very strong thunderstorms across the northern parts of our viewing area. A lot of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. And now we're looking at what appears to be a wall cloud developing just to the north of Waterloo, Cedar Falls. Wanted to take you to some live pictures here. This is Nick Stewart, our meteorologist, and he's been shooting this for the past 15 minutes or so. And you can see there is some broad circulation here and a pretty good size lowering in the clouds. I don't know if you can back your shot out a little bit more, Nick, and we'd be able to see the structure of the storm, but it's definitely looking pretty ominous up your way. So tell us, what are you seeing?
Yeah, we've been watching this storm for quite some time. We're actually about 2 miles northeast of the Waterloo Airport, and within the last about 30 seconds or so, it's gotten really, really tight, the rotation. No formal tornado warning with this storm, no formal severe thunderstorm warning with the storm either, but we're starting to really see some signs of rotation. The sky is really spinning. You're kind of looking at an area that looks like it's trying to get a little bit tighter right now. We're about a mile or so away from where the circulation would be, and it's very, very close to where we are.
Now, if we could, I'd like to split the radar screen and the actual live pictures here, and we'll be able to show you that we do have a bit of a couplet on the radar here. This is just to the north of Waterloo, north-northeast, and going in closer on that, you can see we've got the red areas there, which indicates winds going one direction and the greens going the opposite. So it's right in that region there where you're actually seeing the rotation that Nick is looking at on his live feed right there. And it looks like it is continuing to tighten up, maybe lower just a little bit, Nick.
Yeah, it's nothing extremely tight, but it is really, really trying to ramp up somewhere. We're sitting really just right underneath this wall cloud right now. It's only about a half mile or so north of us from where this rotation is. We have other spotters out here. Multiple people have been communicating with the National Weather Service. You're seeing all the rising motion into this. We're going to keep a very, very close eye on it. Again, no formal tornado warning at the moment, but there's definitely a hook on radar, definitely a bit of a couplet trying to form as well. And if it's going to happen, it's really going to happen pretty much right in front of us.
Right, and you say you're just a little bit northeast of Waterloo, maybe a couple, 3 miles?
Yeah, we're just northeast of Waterloo. I can give you an exact location. We're actually just, have my mapping here. We're on Dunkerton Road, which is that road that goes from the airport over to Dunkerton, and we're on Moline Road. That's kind of our intersection right now. And it looks like the bulk of the rotation is now moving off toward northeast, so we're going to actually kind of move here to get into a little bit of a better perspective because it's starting to get a little bit ahead of us here.
I just saw a new scan come in here. If we can go back to the radar, please. And it's showing gate-to-gate shear of 126 miles per hour and incoming velocity of 66. So that is definitely tightening up. There's a pretty good storm that's developing near you, Nick. Did you happen to hear what I said there about the gate-to-gate shear? Apparently they're moving on here.
I don't know how well you can see if I'm still in the air or not, but you can start to tell we're actually getting some RFD right now, some pretty strong RFD, that rear flank downdraft wrapping around the back side of the storm. That's usually a pretty strong sign that a tornado is imminent. And the winds here are really starting to pick up, maybe 30, 40 miles per hour, wrapping right into the wall cloud.
All right, well, we do have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning issued for Black Hawk County, and there is an indication with that there is a possible tornado as well. So if you're in Black Hawk County, this is a storm to reckon with here as we go through the next 15 to 20 minutes. It does appear, though, that it's going to miss the Waterloo, Cedar Falls area as it tracks just a little bit northeast of there between Waterloo and Waverly over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So the severe thunderstorm warning for Black Hawk County is out until 8:15, and we're still seeing some pretty good signs there that this thing is trying to exhibit some rotation as it moves east-southeast. And if we've got a live shot from Nick, we'll go back to that now and continue to show you what's happening there. So that's pretty captivating stuff. And here it is right now. And because of the strong winds, looks like they're having to move a little bit, but still the lowering base pretty evident there. So far, nothing reaching the ground, but it's getting close, that's for sure. Looks pretty ugly. And I'm just going to let you take a live look at it here. And as he puts the window down, you can see some of the rotation associated with it and some of the scud that's being pulled up into the center of the actual rotation. And Nick, if you're back in.
There's definite rotation, Terry, if you can hear me. It's rotating pretty hard right now. Again, this is northeast of Waterloo. It's a pretty solid rotation. By the way, I'm not driving, just FYI. I have a driver with me, so
right.
I'm not distracted by the storm that much. But again, that's pretty strong rotation. We're on Dunkerton Road. We now have inflow winds. Before we had southwest winds that were blowing into the wall cloud, we now have southeast winds blowing into the wall cloud from the other direction. So again, this is very likely very, very close to a possible tornado forming with the storm. Again, this is just to the northeast of Waterloo. And in fact, I now see we actually do have a severe thunderstorm warning for the storm, which is a good sign considering that it is definitely starting to strengthen here.
Yeah, and Nick, can you tell us why that southeasterly wind is more important than the southwest one with the inflow coming into the storm?
Hey, sorry, Terry, if you can repeat that one more time?
Yeah, just to explain a little bit about the southeasterly winds and why that inflow is more important than the winds coming from the southwest.
Yeah, if you can see the rain bands, the reason is, like we were talking about the RFD earlier, that's kind of wrapping around the backside. Basically, you need to have warm inflow blowing into the storm, and that's kind of what's happening right there. It's blowing all into that wall cloud right there. The RFD, the southwest winds wrapping around the backside, that's kind of that descending air that can kind of help. Look at the winds right now. These are probably gusting 60, maybe 70 miles per hour. On the backside of the storm, again, it's all of the RFD winds on that hook of that storm, and you're looking at the lowering. Still no confirmed tornado, but definitely the wind threat is picking up with this storm. Again, for the time being, we're on Dunkerton Road and Sage Road. If you have a pull up,
Sounds like we've lost Nick's audio, but we still have his picture there. So there is the wall cloud northeast of the Waterloo Cedar Falls area. And on the left is our radar, and where you can see those colored areas there right in the center of the picture just north of Armour. That is where we have opposing wind fields, and that's where our circulation is currently located. And Nick was indicating some strong winds there as well. Nick, are you back with us? Can you see some rain curtains there? Okay, we dropped again, but you can certainly see some rain curtains that are trying to wrap into the system, and there is a bit of a lowering there from the actual wall cloud itself. But so far, no tornadoes, but this one is not too far from it. So if you're up there in the northeastern portion of Black Hawk County, this storm is likely going to produce some high winds and perhaps some large hail as it continues to move now just to the northeast of Armour. And we'll be able to show you Dunkerton is not too far away from there as well, just to the east-northeast. And so it appears that Dunkerton is also under the gun from this storm. So you can expect some high winds, heavy rain, and there's even a chance of a tornado spin-up. And that's according to the NWS there out of the Des Moines office. So pretty strong storm ongoing now in northeastern sections of Black Hawk County. And if we still have our picture up, we'll go back to that and take another look. And so far, nothing touching the ground there, but a lot of low clouds. And Nick, can you hear me at all now? Okay, still don't have anything from Nick out there. He's in a bad spot for sound, so he'll just continue to feed us his picture there. And we do want to stress right now, there is no tornado warning in effect for Black Hawk County, but there's certainly a strong wall cloud in that area that's been producing significant rotation. So we'll just kind of have to watch it here and see how things evolve. But right now, a pretty ugly storm there in the northeast part of Black Hawk County, which will be heading off towards Armour and Dunkerton as we go through the next, say 5 to 10 minutes. In fact, I'll see if I can get the radar reorganized here a little bit, move this back to the southwest, and we'll actually put a fan on here so that you can see which direction it's going. And right now it appears to be pretty much in an easterly direction, and it's going probably, what, 25, 30 miles an hour, Brand, to something like that? About 25. So on the particular track that it's going right now, looks like it should come pretty close to Dunkerton and then off to the east of there, probably heading on into sections of Clayton or Fayette County, that is, before it would go into Clayton County. But right now still have some rotation on the storm itself, and there's probably going to be some hail in here. We can take a quick look at that too, see what the hail core looks like. And there it is right there. Not overly large from the looks of things, but our model here is indicating that there could be at least 1-inch diameter hail and probably winds of at least 60 miles an hour as that storm moves off to the east-northeast. So for the moment, that's where we're at. We'll take one more look at the picture here before we sign off. We've got it very much under control here, and if there's something new or we get something that drops to the ground, of course, we'll be right back with you with the fresh pictures that Nick Stewart is taking as he tracks the storm there in Black Hawk County. Meteorologist Terry Swales here. A new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued up to the north of Cedar Rapids. This is for Buchanan County, and that would include the city of Independence. The strong storm there near Dunkerton continues to move east-southeast, and there has been some rotation and a wall cloud associated with that. So far, no tornado touchdowns, but this is the type of storm that could do it. So it's continuing to move east-southeast and will likely produce some strong winds of about 60 miles an hour as it buzzes through Buchanan County between now and 8:45 tonight. So if you're in that part of our viewing area, a strong storm headed for you there. We've also seen some new development of thunderstorms to the west of Cedar Rapids. You can see right over Belle Plaine, a strong storm is indicated there. And on our velocity mode here, a little bit of circulation showing up down that way. So that's a pretty intense storm there, to say the least. You can see there's Belle Plaine, and right in the middle of the screen there, notice the yellows and oranges just to the south of the greens to the north. So that does indicate the storm is rotating, and it has been intensifying rapidly. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one as it continues to move off to the east and approaches parts of Benton County and maybe eventually getting towards Lynn County and Cedar Rapids. So that's where we are right now. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning out for Buchanan County till 8:45 this evening. From the CBS 2 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Terry Swales. A tornado warning has just been issued for a part of our viewing area, and that does include Benton County, and it is out until 8:45 tonight. On our radar, you can see a strong thunderstorm has developed well to the west of Cedar Rapids, moving in an east-northeast direction, and some strong weather was reported around Belle Plaine, and now the core of that storm has moved off to the east and should be approaching Blairstown very shortly. In fact, we'll put a fan on here and give you an idea of where the storm is actually heading and some of the towns that will be in the path of that. And you can see Blairstown, Norway, Atkins, Fairfax, the Cedar Rapids Airport, and Cedar Rapids eventually a possibility in the path of this storm, which continues to move off to the east. So all those cities between 8:15 and 8:42 should see this strong thunderstorm. And we're going to go to our velocity mode here now too, and we'll be able to show you where the actual rotation is centered. And there you can see just to the southeast of Belle Plaine, bit of a couplet there, and perhaps another one not too far away from Blairstown, but some broad rotation in this area that has weakened a little bit here in the past few minutes from what we were looking at earlier. And Brandon Marshall is in here too as well, our meteorologist. Is that a trend that you noted there, Brandon?
Yeah, I did see it. Well, we've been watching this, cell that just popped up here probably within the last, I'd say 20 or 25 minutes or so, and it kind of rapidly started rotating. So, this is something that we've been watching, but like you said here on that last scan, it does look pretty evident to me that it has kind of weakened a little bit as well.
All right, so we're back on our regular reflectivity mode here. And you can clearly see where the core of the storm is there, just to the east of Belle Plaine. So it would be pretty close to that where the rotation would be found. But at least at this point, not seeing a great deal of evidence of that, just a lot of broad rotation, but that can certainly change in a hurry. And so the National Weather Service is watching that closely and thought it was certainly strong enough to go ahead and put out the tornado warning. In terms of the actual hail size associated with, there's not much of that to be found, as you can see. Just east of Belle Plaine, there's a little bit of hail indicated there, but only around a ½ an inch or less. So I don't see this being a big hail producer, but there certainly is the potential of some strong winds as it moves off to the east. As far as the warning is concerned here, Brandon, what are the specifics on that as far as what is anticipated?
Well, it is moving about 30 to 35 miles per hour to the east. The storm is capable of certainly producing a tornado. It is located over Belle Plaine, or about 11 miles northwest of Marengo. It is moving again east around 30 miles per hour. It is producing some small hail, obviously gusty winds, and given the moisture in the atmosphere here today, which there's a lot of it, certainly could put down some heavy rain in a very short amount of time. Blairstown, Van Horn, Newhall, Norway, Atkins, and Walford. It's going to be around your area between now and about 8:45. So this is something that you want to take seriously. Take shelter, basement, small interior room, the lowest level, away from windows is where you certainly want to be if you're in the path of this storm.
And we're just looking at the speed of it now, and it does look like it's moving along pretty quickly here. Must be at least 35 to 40 miles per hour. So it shouldn't take it too long here before it moves off to the east and approaches Walford in the eastern portion of Benton County there. And then after that, of course, it would move on into Lynn County. Now, to me right now, the greatest threat appears to be some strong winds, which could be at least 60 miles an hour. A lot of the storms up in our northern counties have already experienced winds like that. And Brandon, I'm going to take the radar back a little bit here, and we'll be able to go into our northern counties, and you can see some of the storms that have been moving through that part of our viewing area, and there's still some warnings out there.
Yeah, there still are. We have several severe thunderstorm warnings still in effect for these areas. We have Buchanan County. That is a warning that is still in effect until, let's see, 8:45, and we also have Clayton County. That is a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect. If I can get the time here.
Looks like that's 8:30.
Until about 8:30, yeah, you're correct. So those are the warnings that we do have, and of course extreme northeast Blackhawk County, a warning still exists up there. But the one that we've been watching is the one that has just formed and moving through Benton County, and the atmosphere down here has been largely untapped. Most of the thunderstorms have been well north of Highway 20 here this afternoon, so the atmosphere very unstable today. The heat, the humidity, a lot of moisture has been pooling into eastern Iowa. So you get south of Highway 20, not much has happened, so that has allowed this thunderstorm to kind of blossom up, and the wind shear is starting to pick up as well at this hour. So we're definitely seeing some signs of a rotating thunderstorm here.
Yeah, if we could go to our live sky cam right now, you'll be able to see, looking west of Cedar Rapids, the anvils that are developing there. And you can see these are really reaching up high into the atmosphere. Wouldn't surprise me if the storm is on the order of 45 to 50,000 feet. That's something we can check for you. But a pretty interesting picture there. And you can see the anvil really blossoming off to the west of Cedar Rapids. And that storm right now is probably on the order of 40 miles away. So it's pretty visible despite the fact it's well off to the west of us. And a little closer inspection on this right now. We'll go into the velocity mode one more time, see if we can see any signs of a couplet there. Just to the south of Keystone, there is some broad rotation, but again, nothing that's really tightened up. So no tornado on the ground, just Doppler indicated, and what's there is moving off to the east.
And the echo tops are 51,000 feet on this storm. And like I said before, we've been kind of watching it in the last 20 to 30 minutes. It pretty much went from nothing to 51,000 feet. So the updraft pretty strong here in this thunderstorm.
Yeah, that one there is the one west of Keystone, and we did put a query on that, and that's what we're coming up with, 51,000 feet in the atmosphere. That's really getting up there. And when you get these big updrafts that can create that type of storm, there's certainly going to be the chance of some strong winds and some certainly large hail. In this case, it looks like wind's the primary threat, and of course there could be a brief tornado spin-up, but so far we've not seen anything of that regard with this particular storm moving off to the east. But I can also assure you this thing is going to produce some pretty heavy rainfall, and I would expect plenty of that as that cell works its way off to the east. A lot of these storms today have produced at least an inch, maybe 2 inches of rain as they've moved across any general region.
Especially in our northern counties. I saw Mason City earlier this afternoon. Streets have been flooded all throughout Mason City, even into Winneshiek County. There was a storm that just been kind of cycling over and over that did produce about 2 to 3 inches up that way. So a lot of moisture in the atmosphere here, just all over eastern Iowa. So you get these thunderstorms to explode in this air mass, and you're certainly looking at some very heavy rainfall in a short amount of time.
And I've just added some lightning to this too, and you can see that's pretty prolific on the western fringes of this storm. So just to the northwest of Belle Plaine there, and then on back down to the southeast of Belle Plaine. Quite a bit of lightning and certainly some strong gusty winds and very heavy rainfall. And our tornado warning then does continue in effect for Benton County until 8:15. So if you're in that part of our viewing area, be advised that strong storms are coming your direction. They should be near Luzerne here any time now if they haven't already been there. Blairstown looks like they're knocking on the door in that part of our viewing area. And then eventually these will be getting towards Norway, Newhall, and Van Horn within about the next 10 to 15 minutes. So that's the part of our viewing area that is now under a tornado warning with strong thunderstorms advancing east through that area.
And still nothing confirmed. This is all just radar indicated, but we are seeing some signs of rotation with the storm here on our velocity mode. Still looking, nothing really super tight that I'm seeing. But still fully capable of putting down a tornado. But again, this is just radar indicated, certainly capable of putting one down. They are continuing the severe thunderstorm warning for Buchanan County, a little bit to the north until 8:45.
Yeah, again, I'm just back to the velocity mode here. And when we've got these opposing wind fields, that's where we can determine where rotation is found. And if you look there just to the northeast of Belle Plaine, you can see some greens, and then just north of there some reds. So it'd be right in that general area where we'd be looking for the rotation. But until it tightens up, I doubt very much if there's going to be any tornado coming from that particular storm. However, storms do cycle and they do wrap up, and they can produce a tornado pretty quickly if they decide to do that. But I do not see anything, as you mentioned, that looks very obvious for any sort of tornado that would be touching the ground, despite the fact these storms are up there around 51,000 feet in the atmosphere. We also have a tornado watch that's in effect. Brandon, can you give me any specifics on that? Or
yeah, they actually canceled the tornado
that.
watch. They did have a tornado watch that was issued for Tama County and pretty much along and north of Highway 20. That was until about 10 o'clock tonight. So they recently canceled that. The tornado potential, ironically, seems to be going down, even though we have this tornado warned storm. So a severe thunderstorm watch did replace the tornado watch, and it pretty much You can see it right there as Terry, you pulled it up from about Iowa City along I-80 up to about Highway 20 and up until about Clayton and Fayette County is some of our extreme northern counties. So pretty much the central part of our area is included in that, and it is out until 2 o'clock in the morning.
So really from here on out, the primary threat is going to be some high winds. Looks like our storms are in the process of kind of lining out, except for that one down to the south of us there. So eventually when we get that type of feature there, you can see this big bow that extends from Grundy Center back onto the east over towards Guttenberg. We're running just to the, well, maybe a little bit south of Highway 20 there, pretty close to it anyway. That whole feature is going to drive east-southeast into all that unstable air that hasn't been touched yet. And once it gets going, it'll probably pick up some speed and produce some strong winds that at times could reach 60 miles an hour. This type of situation is pretty common for doing those sorts of things. But that storm that's down to the south now and east of Belle Plaine, that one's in a relatively fresh environment. Things haven't been disturbed there, and that's why that one has a little bit better chance of at least producing some sort of a tornado spin up, and that's why we have a tornado warning out until 8:45 here for Benton County. So that's another 25 minutes or so if it is not canceled.
As you mentioned, just the atmosphere untapped down this way. A lot of energy in the atmosphere today. We had temperatures again in the mid-80s. I think our dew point even climbed into the 70s today. So that is a lot of moisture, a lot of energy here in the atmosphere, and these thunderstorms can just really explode. And we're seeing that with this particular cell, and it is discrete. It is away from all the other storms that are several miles away up to the north, and certainly a lot of shear that is increasing as well, and has been the last couple hours. And you need that shear to kind of rotate these supercell thunderstorms, and that's kind of what we're seeing here with this cell.
And as we put another fan on here, you can see now Newhall is in the path of the storm at 8:34, Atkins around 8:40, and then we're getting over towards Norway, and Fairfax also in the track of the storm between now and 8:45. And then the Eastern Iowa Airport would be next on the list, and around 8:50 is when the storm is expected there. So I'm thinking in the Cedar Rapids area, if this storm holds together, as it probably will, should hit the area sometime around 9 to maybe 9:15 this evening. So if you're in the Cedar Rapids metro area, looks like this one has eyes on us as it continues to progress off to the east.
And the rotation, at least, the velocity mode still looks like to be just north of Luzerne, getting pretty close to Blairstown is where the rotation, the central part of the rotation would be on this storm, at least from what I'm seeing. I don't know if you can see that too, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Looks like probably in this general region right in here
Yep.
is where we would see the rotation that would potentially develop a tornado, but it's still pretty broad and not an overly strong couplet, that's for sure. So we don't anticipate a tornado being on the ground right now, but the conditions are pretty ripe for some strong storms that could spin up at least a brief tornado in the central and western portions of Benton County.
And they did up the hail now to about 1 inch in diameter, so we're looking at roughly about quarter-size hail with this storm. It was about penny size earlier when they initially put it out, so that does indicate the updraft is becoming a little bit more stronger, is holding up these hailstones, and they're getting a little bit bigger before they fall to the surface. So we got the 1 inch in diameter hail, quarter size. We're still looking at some torrential rain if you happen to get under this storm with the wind gust of around 60 miles per hour, and of course could be capable of producing a tornado, although no evidence of anything confirmed, just radar indicated as of right now.
And I just did a query on the hail size, and now I can depict at least 1.6 inches in diameter. A lot of times, though, that's up in the updraft itself. By the time it gets to the ground, melts a little bit, so probably not that large on the ground, but hail certainly looks to be a pretty good possibility there just to the northwest of Luzerne, and that's changed quite a bit in its structure since just the past 5 minutes or so. And we also talked about the echotops, how large the thunderstorms are in the atmosphere, and we can go back and check those out as well. Looks like they might have diminished just a little bit. There's one to 50,000 feet, and another one off to the northwest is still at 52,000 feet. So these are big-time thunderstorms, no question about that. And they are going to put out some heavy rainfall in a short period of time, along with plenty of lightning, which you can see on this scan right here. That's a very electrified storm there from Elberon to just west of Blairstown.
And we still do have a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect, Clayton County, until about 8:30. Winds are the primary hazard with that, about 60 miles per hour. Of course, heavy rain, not so much of a hail threat up in Clayton County, and then also a severe thunderstorm warning for Buchanan County until 8:45. That one is producing some hail, about penny to quarter size hail, as well as some wind gusts upwards around 60 miles per hour. And then of course a tornado warning. Those are the only 3 active warnings we have right now here in eastern Iowa.
And you can also see that storm there in Buchanan County also producing a lot of lightning, especially in the northern portions of Buchanan County. This is just to the north now of Independence, moving in a southeasterly direction. So a warning continues in effect for that. And when we put this on here, you'll be able to see that if it moves southeast as expected now at around 25 to 30 miles per hour, areas like Winthrop would be in the path of the storm, Masonville, and even Manchester should eventually get in on the action at around 8:51 this evening. But no tornado warning there, just some strong winds and some lightning, obviously a lot of that, and heavy rains, the primary threat from that particular storm.
And we also do have there is a flash flood watch, which is out for a good chunk of the area. Pretty much you get around Cedar Rapids, Highway 30, and up to the north, all the way up to the Minnesota border. There is a flash flood watch that is in effect through about early tomorrow morning, I think about 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow. So these storms that are forming tonight, as they continue to track southeast through the viewing area, you can expect some heavy rain, localized flash flooding, certainly possible. And of course, if you come across any flooded roads, you certainly don't want to drive through them. You just don't know how deep the water is. So you want to be mindful of that if you're going to be out and about later on tonight. But we are expecting some heavy rains and some really gusty winds with these storms tonight.
And just putting this into motion here, you'll be able to see on this loop how the thunderstorms are tracking off in pretty much of an easterly direction. So far hasn't made a hard turn to the southeast. We think that later on that's probably going to happen a little bit as the instability gets stronger in southeastern Iowa than the northeast or east central parts of the state. But for now, it appears that they're moving pretty much in an easterly direction, and that should take some of these towards Cedar Rapids. And it looks like we have a new tornado warning. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is a little bit of rotation up on the northern part of that cell. At least that's what I am gathering here, why they decided to extend the warning a little bit further to the north. So Benton, you are in the path of the storm. It is moving east at about 20 miles per hour. It'll be near Benton and Garrison between now and about 9:20.
And I got my little cursor on there, and you can see where the rotation is that they put the warning out for. And there's where Benton is located. And with the storm moving east, it looks like it should go just a little bit south of Benton, but going to be a close call there. So you'll want to pay attention closely if you're in Benton there. And that's, of course, in Benton County as well. And so the warning there is out until 9:30 tonight. So much of Benton County now under a tornado warning. And still no confirmed tornadoes, but certainly some very strong storms in that part of our viewing area. And we can go back to our reflectivity mode here and show you where they are right now and where they are producing a lot of lightning and heavy rainfall. Go back to our velocity mode here. See if we can see any change in that. There's still some broad circulation there between Traer and Benton, a little bit southwest of Benton, but nothing that looks particularly tight in my opinion, but something to keep an eye on. And there's where your warnings remain in effect. And that's all Benton County until 9:30. And of course, just east of Benton County is Lynn County, which includes Cedar Rapids and Center Point, Central City, Coggin, places like that. And so the storm should be moving right on into Lynn County here as we go through the next 15 to 20 minutes. And it's possible that some sort of warnings will be extended into Lynn County. Hopefully just severe thunderstorm warnings, but at least for now, to the west of there, we do have our tornado warnings out.
Yeah, still no confirmed tornado on the ground. This is just all radar indicated. The radar is picking up some rotation here up in the thunderstorm. So nothing confirmed yet, but there are a couple areas of rotation again that we're kind of watching, that we've been highlighting just south of Keystone towards Blairstown. That was the original part of the storm that prompted the tornado warning, and then that new area of rotation, which we just showed you not too far. Let's see, that was where was that, around the Garrison area, heading kind of northeast and east toward the Benton area as well.
Now, Nick Stewart, our meteorologist, has been out in the road warrior here, and he sent us some amazing pictures earlier tonight from up around Waterloo. A very strong wall cloud developed there. Never did produce, but it was close. And now Nick is on his way south, and if you see where that red dot is there, he's getting close to 380. So he's going to drop further to the south and try and intercept this storm here. Still got a little daylight out there, so hopefully we can get a visual on it and bring you some live pictures here within the next 10 or 15 minutes. And back in the control room there, if we do get contact with Nick here, I would like to see what they're seeing right now and speak with him if that's a possibility. So if you would, can we speak with him though, or are we in contact? All right, all right. Nick, can you hear me?
Hey, Terry, how you doing, man?
Good, good. We've got some activity now developing in our central counties, and it looks like that's exactly where you're heading.
Yeah, storms have definitely quickly been going up. I mean, it's been a really active day across much of the area. We started off on those original severe storms up at the Waterloo Cedar Falls area. Pretty obvious rotation with that storm. So now we're dropping south on the new tornado warning storms. Obviously, there's 2 areas of rotation. We're targeting that northern one right now that's kind of heading towards the Benton area. That's where that northern tornado warning is kind of in effect. We're going to be, we're going down 150 from Urbana. We're going to be heading over to Benton, go west of Benton, and then drop south, try and get in the path of that new tornado warning, which is, again, through about central Benton County, heading towards like the Benton, Shellsburg area.
Excellent. So when you get in a better position and you can see the structure of the storms a little bit more, get back to us here and we'll show the viewers what's going on as you work your way southwest towards the area that have tornado warnings. All right.
Yeah, I didn't understand 100%. I apologize. It's a little hard to hear right now, but I think you're talking about the structure of the storm. And in terms of kind of what we're looking at right now, it's not a lot that we can see from our side. The north side from storms tends to be kind of a harder side to view storms because there's just so much precipitation in the way. And so we're kind of looking south toward that tornado warning storm. We still have some daylight. When we're on daylight, we're going to hope that the instability in the atmosphere will kind of give us enough lightning to be able to kind of provide you live pictures from the ground. And I'm actually going to call into the IFB line using some TV talk right here on my other phone and be able to hear you better. Just give me like 30 seconds or so.
Well, not a problem, Nick. You get reconnected there and keep moving south, and you'll be obviously in the path of the storm to bring us some much-needed visuals as it starts to develop here in the next 15 or 20 minutes. But at least for the moment, there's our velocity mode, and there is not a tight circulation. So even though there's a tornado warning in effect, I do not think there's any tornadoes out there at this time, and nothing to be overly concerned about. Just be aware, strong thunderstorms now moving through much of Benton County with the potential of at least some brief tornado spin-up. Strong winds, though, look like a much better bet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything confirmed, at least from the National Weather Service. I've been looking, of course, through Twitter and Facebook, and I haven't seen anything confirmed as far as a tornado on the ground with the storm. But of course, we'll keep an eye out on that. The National Weather Service is continuing the severe thunderstorm warning for Buchanan County with 60-mile-per-hour winds. Also, ping pong ball size hail. That is until 8:45, and they are also monitoring rotation near the Independence area with that storm. So maybe that is something. Maybe we can look and we can pick that up on our velocity mode as well up near Independence. I see you have it up there now, Terry.
Yeah, maybe a little west-southwest of there, the possibility. But again, pretty broad, doesn't look tight, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's at least a lowering there, some sort of a wall cloud with some rotation. But getting it down to the ground is going to be the big trick. But wind, now that's another story, and hail too. And we indicated the potential for some large hail there. And as we go in closer on this, you can see where Independence is located. The storm is rapidly approaching that area, and it looks like the potential is there for some significant hail, at least an inch in diameter. This run of the model here has 2.2 inches on its algorithm, probably overinflated there, but at least an inch in diameter seems to be a pretty good bet if it holds together and rolls on through Independence. So expect some hail and high winds in Independence there in that part of Buchanan County. Taking you back down to our tornado warned storm here. Get you a little better look at that. And you can see the two warnings that are out. This one here and this one here, both until around 9:30 this evening in Benton County. The storm there. Any reports at all from this of any damage or winds, Brandon?
I haven't seen anything. No reports from that storm at all, as far as even the rainfall, how much rain it may be even producing, wind damage, hail. I haven't seen really anything, just from the warning that the Weather Service has put out.
And we actually are in contact with the National Weather Service out of Des Moines or the Quad Cities or La Crosse, and we're on what's called a chat there, and people are continually sending in reports of what's happening in terms of severe weather. And earlier today, for example, we were watching reports coming in pretty regularly up in Floyd County of wind gusts of 70 to 75 miles an hour. So when something comes in, we get it very quickly and can pass that along to you. And so the fact we're not hearing anything right now is pretty good news. And if we don't get a stronger circulation on these two cells, then the warning might actually be canceled, because right now I just don't see a whole lot there that gets me very excited.
Yeah, up in Floyd County, they got hit pretty hard earlier today. A lot of heavy rain, flooding throughout the county. There was also wind damage 6 miles west of Rockford. They got the worst part of the storm up that way. In Winnebago County, there was a report of a little rope tornado earlier today. So much of the activity has been up in our northern counties, extreme northern Iowa here earlier today. But now that we're getting into the evening hours tonight, a lot of the atmosphere has really been untapped once you get south to Highway 20. And we're starting to see some of these thunderstorms really blossom in that kind of environment.
Yeah, so if you're south and east of Highway 20 there, especially from Waterloo east to Dubuque and then on to the south, you can expect some pretty strong storms to be moving through over the next 1 to 3 hours. They should be exiting our southern counties, I'd say by midnight tonight, but we do have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for that area about Highway 20 on to the southeast. And so that is where we're likely going to see strong storms with gusty winds that could reach at least 60 miles per hour in this really unstable air mass that we're currently sitting in.
And they are continuing the tornado warning right now for Benton County. They really got two times. They got one for 8:45, which is kind of in the southern part of the storm. And then once you get further to the north, there was another area of rotation that we saw earlier. That is out until 9:30. But just even looking at the velocity mode where we can see the rotation, there's a lot going on, but I don't see really anything super tight that would cause really big concern as far as a tornado actually lowering.
Yeah, that just looks really messy to me there, and I cannot see any definitive couplet, to be quite honest with you. There's a couple areas where I see rotation, but nothing that really stands out to me. So hopefully that's the way it'll stay here, as our tornado warning remains in effect for Benton County until 8:45 in the south and about, what'd you say, 9 o'clock in our northern section.
Till 9:30, yeah.
9:30,
Yep.
So it's quite a bit more up in the north. So that means we're going to be on the air until those warnings are canceled or they expire, and we'll continue to be bringing you live reports from Nick Stewart, too, who is approaching from the north. And we can put our GPS tracker on here and find Nick. There is where his little red dot is located. And so as we go up that direction, you can see where my cursor is. That is where Nick is currently located. So the storms that he's going to be headed for are right down in this area here. So he's on his way to Benton, and then I think he's going to try to come in from the west and get back on that side of it, because there's going to be a lot less rain and hail, and you'll get a lot better visualization of it. But he should be seeing the cells pretty good now, because we have our live sky cam up in Cedar Rapids, and we've been seeing the towers growing off to the west, and those are on their way to Lynn County here pretty shortly.
Yeah, the warning, that storm is in Benton County as of right now, but as you mentioned, Terry, it is moving pretty much straight to the east, so it should be arriving in Lynn County, I would say, probably within the next hour or so, with its current trajectory, which is about 30 miles per hour is kind of roughly how fast it is moving straight east.
And we do have a new picture that Nick Stewart did just send to us. And look at the structure of this supercell. This was near Brandon, Iowa, so this is only about 10 minutes ago. You can see the huge updraft there and the rotation of the thunderstorm, which indicates that it is a supercell. It is spinning. And so far, we haven't got anything down to the ground, but in the mid-levels, definitely some strong rotation, and that is a beautiful thunderstorm there in terms of its overall structure. But unfortunately, those are the ones there that are going to produce your winds and your heavy rain, your hail, and perhaps even some tornadoes. But that's a great shot, Brandon.
It certainly is.
Oh, man, takes your breath away. You know, I went all the way through Kansas and other parts of the country trying to see something like that and could have just stayed here. I'll know better next time, won't I? Yeah. Well, let's get back to the radar here and see if anything has changed. Back to the velocity mode, and this is what we look like, or we look for rotation. Looks like there might be a little more color there east of Keystone now, but still pretty broad rotation. If I was to make an estimate, I would say it's about right in here where we're most likely seeing the circulation that could eventually produce a tornado. But so far, absolutely no reports of any tornadoes in Benton County, despite the fact most of the county is under a tornado warning.
And they are reporting the storm up in Buchanan County, just a lot of lightning associated with this storm. Buchanan County is under a severe thunderstorm warning as of right now until 8:45. And they're still watching kind of the tail end of that, the southern end of that near Independence, at least just south of Independence around Highway 20. Maybe some broad rotation. Doesn't look like anything tight, at least from what I'm seeing, but that is something the National Weather Service is continuing to watch. Again, the tail end of that storm in Buchanan County, just south of Independence.
And the hail sometimes lags a little bit, but it is showing it near or just north of Independence. But it does look like some hail is going to come through Independence, at least the east side of the city there, before that dives on southeast of Independence. So we still have a warning in effect for Buchanan County until 8:45. That's a severe thunderstorm warning, but it looks like the far northern sections pretty much in the clear now. It's going to be about the southeastern half of Buchanan County that now is a threat from that particular storm there, heading in an east-southeast direction.
And we do have a severe thunderstorm watch, which is in effect until 2 a.m., pretty much for our central counties, from about Highway 20 down to Interstate 80. Some of our northern counties were in a tornado watch earlier. A lot of those have expired and been replaced with the severe thunderstorm watch. So that goes until 2 o'clock in the morning. They are continuing that severe thunderstorm warning. I just got an alert now for Buchanan County, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Also looking at ping pong ball size hail as well for that storm, and that is until 8:45 in Buchanan County.
And there's a tighter view of Independence. You can see the city itself, and it's just off to the southeast, where it looks to me like we have the worst part of the storm now. No doubt some strong winds in that area there, just off 220th Street there, which is not really essentially Highway 20. So a pretty good storm going on there, but it should move quickly southeast and be out of the Independence area in the next 15 minutes or so. And there you can see a new scan showing some of that hail which is developing with the storm. And when we put the hail on here, it just takes a while for the algorithms to figure out how big it is. So it's not catching up yet with the actual hail core in real time. So you can see the hail here has lagged a little bit, but it is showing signs of at least clipping the northeastern side of Independence as it moves on southeast.
And I did see a report of a wind gust of around 60 miles per hour there, just north of Independence by about a mile. No visible tree damage associated with any of that, but some strong winds definitely associated with that storm. So you want to take shelter if you're in Buchanan County, as that warning is out till 8:45, and of course a tornado warning for Benton County until about 9:30. And I've been seeing on the velocity mode still some broad rotation around the Van Horn, between Van Horn and Keystone, it looks like, but no evidence, nothing confirmed as far as a tornado on the ground, fully capable of producing one, but as of right now, the rotation looks to be up in the mid-levels.
And if you look on our screen here, Nick Stewart, our meteorologist, is now moving into the area around Benton, maybe just a little bit north of there, and his video is back up, and we're going to let that go here, and you can see where he is. And Nick, can you hear us?
Just not there.
Go ahead then and let us know what you're seeing and what you're doing.
We are just south of Benton, and while a faster option would be to core punch the storm, we are not going to do that because it's pretty dark and there's a report of large hail on this. So we are going to go towards the Garrison area and then kind of drop around the back side of the hook from there. So you can see the updraft on the center part of your screen there. I mean, it's almost vertical. I mean, it's a very stout updraft of the storm, very, very strong, probably some pretty good hail falling with that. Obviously, torrential rain as well. And then the core of the storm over there, I mean, it's just a dark mess over there. Very, very impossible to see anything in there. So we're going to avoid that for now. We're heading towards the back side of the storm, and then we'll kind of come in from the back side of it and hopefully get a good picture of it. While you kind of mentioned that the couplet itself is not very strong on radar, which is true. I mean, it definitely has that kind of hook trait to it, definitely a hook out there that we look at for storms. We know it's at least rotating likely into mid-levels of the atmosphere, like that picture we showed earlier, but we cannot confirm if it's really on the ground. That's why we're going to go have a closer look to kind of see what exactly is happening down there.
All right, Nick, thanks. We'll be back to you shortly here. I'm sure you're going to get a pretty good lightning show out there. That is a guarantee. And now we're looking at, again, our velocity mode where we can see where the circulation is. And there's Van Horn somewhere in this area here, maybe just a little bit southwest of Van Horn. Looks to me like the best rotation is found there. But I need to stress, we have not had any confirmation of any touchdowns. This is all the Doppler indicated, especially in the mid-levels of the atmosphere where the storm is rotating pretty good, but not so much down at the ground. So far, pretty good news, but it does look like this thing is tightening up a little bit there, not far away from Van Horn. So you're next in line for this storm, which is going to cut right across that area in the next 2 to 3 minutes.
Looks like there could be a little bit of rotation around Keystone as well, just to the northwest if you wanted to put the velocity mode. Again, nothing really tight or compact, but certainly you might see a little bit of rotation right around Keystone.
Yeah, that's something to keep an eye on too. But as you mentioned, nothing seems to have really gotten overly wrapped up here. And so that's good news for us as long as we can keep that trend going. But the storms are definitely moving steadily off to the east here. And backing this out, you can see this is the eastern edge of Benton County over here. And there's the Cedar Rapids metro area. So the storms are moving off to the east. And it does look like those will be getting towards Cedar Rapids in the next half an hour to 45 minutes. It's hard to say what their intensity will be like, but I can see the good news here is that the tornado warning, the southern end of that in Benton County, has now been canceled.
Yes, it has been canceled, or at least allowed to expire. And I'm not seeing any indication that they're going to continue that, which is certainly good news. But on the northern part of that storm, the tornado warning is still in effect until 9:30, and even up on our sky cam here, I'm seeing quite a bit of lightning out to our west, which is showing this exact storm, which is not too far away.
Yeah, we're going to give it a little motion here, and just based on this, it looks like it is going to come pretty close to the Cedar Rapids metro area, at least the biggest core right now. So backing that out a little bit, there you can see Cedar Rapids off in the eastern portion. Kind of looking like the northern side of the metro area might get some of the stronger activity now, unless this thing redevelops, which is very possible. These are always fluid, always changing, but it does continue to move off to the east and will likely at least clip parts of Cedar Rapids and central and northern Lynn County, maybe not quite so intense as you get a little bit further south. And
we have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Delaware County. That is until 9:45. A severe thunderstorm was located near Lamont toward Winthrop, moving east about 20 miles per hour, ping pong ball size hail. We've been talking about the winds with this storm. You could expect gusts of around 60 miles per hour. Of course, torrential rainfall in just a short amount of time. Independence, Manchester, Edgewood, also Lamont, Delhi, Colesburg, Ryan, just a few of the towns and cities that are in the path of this storm.
There you can see Winthrop, that is. Not a very large city there, but it is definitely going to be catching the brunt of this storm as it continues to head east, maybe a little east-southeast, and it's kind of hugging Highway 20 there. So it looks like it will eventually move off and head towards other places in that area there in Delaware County that you spoke of, Quasqueton, there's Masonville, and eventually down a little town there called Monty. So it's starting to make its move east-southeast and will be passing through those areas over the next 10 to 15 minutes. So severe weather is likely, especially around Winthrop there and Quasqueton as some gusty winds and hail will be possibility in that part of the storm core itself. And it does appear that our other storm continues to work its way east across Benton County. It is now to the south of Benton. Looks like the core is going to miss Benton. That's good news for you, but it has probably passed through Keystone, and it's going to come very close to Newhall here in the next few minutes. So still some pretty strong storms in northern parts of Benton County, but not quite as strong as they were earlier. And overall, as far as rotation goes, very broad, nothing very specific. So that tells us that most of the rotation is probably taking place in the mid-levels, and tornadoes so far not really reaching the ground, and we'll hope that trend continues.
Yeah, still haven't heard anything confirmed as far as any tornadoes on the ground. The southern part of that storm, the warning has been dropped, but you know, we're still watching the northern part of that storm as it does move to the east-northeast, rather slow, about 20 to 25 miles per hour, as that tornado warning is still in effect until about 9:30. So we'll keep that going, and maybe they'll cancel it sooner. You never know.
Yeah, so far I don't see any reason to keep it going, but that's not our decision to make. But you can see at least now some of the storms are just about to cross the Benton County line into Lynn County. Fairfax getting close to some rain now, but it's a little bit west of there where you really start getting into the lightning, and it's really intense from just about 10 miles west of Fairfax back to Keystone, and now getting over towards Newhall. And then there's another little cell there that looks like it's developing west of Marengo, and that one's going to be heading east as well. So there's going to be a lot of action going on around our southern and central counties here over the next couple of hours as this entire mass of showers and thunderstorms starts to move on southeast. So I'm expanding the view a little bit here, going to put it into motion for you. And when you see the loop here, you can see how everything is starting to advance slowly off to the east-southeast. And this will all come through eastern Iowa, at least many parts of it, as we go through the next 2 to 3 hours. And with the instability in place, a lot of you are going to see strong storms tonight with plenty of lightning, heavy rain, and some spots potentially some strong winds. And it does look like we have a brand new tornado warning now that's just been issued, and that looks like it's in parts of Buchanan County. Brandon?
Yes, tornado warning is in effect again for Buchanan County. This does go until 9:30. It looks like it is pretty much the same place where it was before. Again, radar indicated. Certainly some big hail you can expect with this storm, about golf ball size hail. And if velocity is what I'm looking at, is it looks like around, again, just near Keystone is where the rotation seems to be. It looks like the storm might be kind of cycling a little bit. The rotation earlier was a little bit further to the east, but now it looks like it's kind of cycling back to the west, at least from what I'm seeing on this storm. But again, Benton County until 9:30.
So there you go, another tornado warning in effect, and again that's till 9:30, as Brandon just mentioned. Still pretty broad rotation there, but potentially something that could spin into a tornado. We'll have to watch that closely. We'll actually be able to put a little fan on here and give you an idea of some of the towns that are going to be in the path of this. And you can see now it is just to the east of Independence, east-southeast of there, and the direction that it's moving now should be heading off through Winthrop, Masonville, Manchester, and eventually towards Oneida between now and 9:21 tonight. And there certainly is going to be some very heavy rain and strong winds in this. And we also have the tornado warning in effect about where you see that little Highway 20 sign there. That's probably where the best rotation is currently located. So that's up to the north of Cedar Rapids, further down to the southwest. That's where additional storms are now developing, and don't see any tight circulation there just yet, but still strong storms, and those will be heading east towards Lynn County as we go through the next 15 minutes. And putting a fan on that particular one, you can see where Keystone is located there. We'll just run it from just east of Keystone, and it looks like that's going to go very close to Cedar Rapids, probably around 30 miles per hour. And that means Van Horn, Atkins, Palo, Cedar Rapids, and Marion will be in the path of the storm between now and 9:22 this evening. And Brandon, anything on the chat about any sort of issues people are seeing?
I have not seen anything confirmed as far as any damage from hail, from wind, or even As far as amounts from the heavy rain, obviously no confirmed tornado has been reported, at least on the Buchanan County storm that just went issued for a tornado warning, or Benton County. But we do also have a severe thunderstorm warning that has just been issued, again back further to the west. This is for Black Hawk, Grundy, and Tama County. That is until 9:45 for 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. Also hail of about quarter-size hail or so for that storm. So we have the two tornado warning storms, and now the severe thunderstorm warning for Black Hawk, Grundy, and Tama, as we're looking still some active weather here in eastern Iowa.
Wow, some very intense lightning there from Waverly to just east of Parkersburg back to, I'd say Cedar Falls and Waterloo, and that whole cell moving to the east-southeast. And yeah, I can see why the warning is out for that part of our viewing area. Some rough weather expected there as that particular cell moves southeast. And you can kind of see there's just clusters of these, probably about 4 dominant supercells that you can see in eastern Iowa right now. And one of those is kind of working its way out of Clayton County there. The other one still over in Buchanan County, heading into Delaware counties. Then you got your other one that's down to the west of Cedar Rapids in Benton County. Now that new cell is really flared up there just to the northwest of Waterloo. So it's going to be a while before these storms get on out of our area. And while we do have a couple tornado warnings in effect, we have had not any tornado confirmations here in eastern Iowa, just some rotation, Doppler indicated.
And as we look toward the Benton County, I don't know, it looks like it's kind of maybe tightened a little bit.
All right.
I don't know if you want to zoom in just down there. Again, it's between Keystone and Van Horn. We've seen that kind of area with some areas of rotation here in the last maybe 20, 30 minutes or so. So I think right between Keystone and Van Horn, at least that's where it looks to me. I don't know if you're seeing that, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably getting into this general region right in here.
Right in there.
But again, you know, if you had a really tight couplet, you'd be seeing some yellows and some oranges, and it'd be very obvious to see if there was a really strong circulation. So it still seems to be pretty broad, and hopefully that's the way it's going to stay here. But it is continuing to move off to the east very steadily. It looks like it's going to go south of Benton, though, and then over towards Shellsburg, maybe a little south of there, and Newhall seems to be under the gun for that too. And I just wanted to go to the echo tops here to see just how high those are. And what we're doing here is measuring the vertical height of the storm. This is from the ground straight on up to its top anvil. And this one here has a top of 48,000 feet. That's just near Van Horn. And this other one down here near Newhall has a top of 49,000 feet. So these are getting way, way up there in the atmosphere. They're very large storms. And those are the types that are going to get you your wind and your hail and your torrential rainfall. And I'm guessing some of the rainfall values here are probably at least an inch in an hour's time based on what we've been seeing here on the radars in terms of just straight old reflectivity mode.
Yeah, a lot of moisture in the atmosphere here today, a lot of energy as well from the amount of instability. So it's not going to take much for these storms to produce 1 to 2 inches or maybe even more. They are kind of slow movers, about 20 to 30 miles per hour. And we do have a flash flood watch in effect for a good chunk of eastern Iowa, pretty much from Highway 30 up to the north toward the Minnesota border. A flash flood watch is out until about early tomorrow morning. So any areas that do see these thunderstorms certainly can pick up a heck of a lot of rain in a short amount of time.
And we just did a new scan on that storm near Newhall there, and that one's now up to 51,000 foot on its top. So that's a pretty beastly sized storm, and that's just due west of Cedar Rapids. So if that continues to hold its strength and continues to move in the direction that it has been, it does look like that's going to move across western Lynn County and come very close to the Cedar Rapids metro area between now and 9:30 tonight. So that's one to really keep an eye on there. That's a biggie at 51,000 feet. Further to the north, there's the other cell that we have a tornado warning for, and we'll do a query on that one too. And looks to me like that's going to be, again, pretty close to 50,000. Whoa, that one's really up there, Brandon, 57,000 feet.
Yeah.
That's a really healthy thunderstorm there. So that's got a tremendous updraft, and that one I would be very concerned about, especially if you're in the Winthrop or Quasqueton areas as it moves on to the east-southeast. And eventually Masonville, you got a pretty good crack at seeing that storm there. That's a hefty one. And just wanted to move a little bit further to the northwest, and that other cell here around Waterloo looks to me too like that one is probably going to be up there around 50,000 feet, if not more. and that says 55,000. So that's a real testament to the instability in the atmosphere. The larger the storms, the more instability there is, and 55 to 57,000 foot storms, that's very healthy.
It certainly is. Those thunderstorms, towering thunderstorms, updrafts are pretty strong to get a thunderstorm that high up in the atmosphere. So these thunderstorms capable of producing some large hail. We did see reports at least around ping pong ball size hail in Buchanan County from that thunderstorm. We're looking at least, it looks like we got a new tornado warning now that they have issued for Benton. Now Iowa County is now in the path of the storm. It looks like we got a cell coming up from the south, which is showing some rotation as well. So Iowa County, you are now under a tornado warning, at least the northern part of the county. Marengo, you are included in this until 9:30 tonight.
So there you can see that cell down to the south that you indicated was moving a little bit to the northeast there. It's going right past Marengo from the looks of things, maybe just a little bit north of Marengo. You'll catch it on the south edge. And from there in Iowa County, it will extend up into the southeastern sections of Benton County. So the area that was under a warning earlier now is under a warning again. But at least the first time around, there were no tornadoes, and we'll hope that's the case with this particular one. And we'll go into the velocity mode one more time here. And there you can see where Blairstown is located. Appears to be a bit of a circulation right in that general area. And so that's one we'll be watching really closely right in here. Another bit of a rotation indicated right up in here. So there's two spots to watch with that storm. And eventually we're going to get back to our Nick Stewart. I know he's approaching one of those storms from the west-northwest, and hopefully when his signal gets up here, he can get us some live pictures, but he's out there doing his best. Sometimes you get in the open country and the feeds are kind of tough to send back, but he's on it, and we'll be in position to give us some pictures here shortly, so stick around for that. I'm sure they're going to be pretty impressive looking storms. And let's see here. I want to get back to hail. Let's see what we got going on for hail here. And there's a pretty decent looking cell still east of Keystone, and that one, according to our model here within our radar itself, indicates 1.8 inch diameter hail, and I think that's pretty close to where Nick is located. We'll put him on here, and if you look closely up here, we'll go zoom in just a little bit and get you right up to there. That is where Nick Stewart is located, right there, that little red dot that I'm circling around with my cursor. That's where Nick is located, and we're dialed into him, and he's going to let us see what he's seeing out there tonight.
Hey, Terry, how are you? We're about 2 miles north of Van Horn. I'm just going to check with this firefighter quick, see if he's blocking something or if he's just spotting. We good to go? Okay, single chair. Cool, thank you. Yeah, obviously there's a lot of spotters out here. As fire departments are doing their thing, checking out the storms. Just want to make sure that they weren't blocking the road for any reason. So we're going to be coming up on the backside of that tornado warning storm as it approaches Van Horn. That's obviously one area of interest. And of course, as you mentioned, we have that other area of circulation developing down in Iowa County that we're also keeping our eyes on. So we're going to keep closing in on that circulation as it approaches the Van Horn Newhall area. We were on the backside of the circulation. We were getting some small hail. I'm sure there was larger hail in the core that we intentionally avoided. But we also had some very strong winds. And again, I can't stress enough, the amount of rainfall these storms are producing is just incredible. The roadways here are very, very waterlogged. We haven't encountered any flooded roads, thankfully, but the roads are very, very wet. The ditches are starting to get pretty full. So if you're traveling after the storm they've already passed, keep in mind the roads could be quite waterlogged. There could be areas of flooded roadways.
Hey, Nick, if you could still hear me, it looks like...
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how else going to be able to see it. It's a little dark. We now have a visual on that circulation just off to our left. The rain is starting to clear. Pretty well-defined lowering with that storm. Again, it's pretty dark because we're starting to lose the light of the day, but there's definitely a lowering with that storm. I would guesstimate that's probably closer to the Van Horn area. It's off to our west by a little bit. It looks like nothing is on the ground at the moment, but there's definitely a lowering with that storm. It's basically just to the right of that light now.
we'll go back and show our viewers where you are precisely right now. And you can see Nick is on the back edge of the storm, and there's where Van Horn is located, right in there. So Nick is kind of on the very fringe of the storm right now, and I'm sure he's getting a pretty good lightning show. If you can still hear me, Nick, can you tell me a little bit about the lightning you're seeing out there?
The lightning is very, very intense. That's we're going to fix this real quick. We're having some issues with the autofocus. We're trying to get that into, there we go. But the lightning is obviously very prolific with this storm as well. There's a lot of that very dangerous lightning. We see many clouds around very close proximity to where we were driving through. Again, the area of interest that we were looking at remains not on the ground, which is good news, but there's definitely some type of blowing with that storm, again, near the Van Horn area. But going back to your earlier question, the lightning is nearly nonstop.
All right, Nick. Well, looks pretty interesting out there. Keep an eye on it. You see something, get back to us, okay?
Will do.
Excellent. Good reporting, Nick. He's been on the storms now for about 4 hours, and they continue to pop away around eastern Iowa. And up to the north, we've got severe weather, and down to the south as well. Number of tornado warnings in effect. Here's one that we haven't talked much about here recently, and this is now getting out of Buchanan County and heading towards Delaware County. The warning right on this storm here. There's your velocity mode there. Still a kind of a weak couplet there, but between Winthrop and Quasqueton, that's where I would say the circulation is located. What's your take on that, Brandon?
Yeah, I think the rotation has diminished somewhat. The National Weather Service was worried a little bit about there was a storm coming up from the south, so they were worried that with that main storm there in Buchanan County ingesting that other storm, that can perhaps enhance the rotation. So that's something we're going to have to continue to watch. But right now, I'm not seeing anything really tight rotation on our velocity mode here on radar that would indicate a perhaps tornado may be imminent, but certainly some broad circulation within that storm.
Hey, we're just looking on our sky cam here to the west of Cedar Rapids. And if you can pan that maybe just a little bit to the left, just look at the lightning there. I mean, that is nonstop. That storm is just electrified, which doesn't surprise me when you have the instability that we have around eastern Iowa today. Dew points were up around 73 here in Cedar Rapids, which is a pretty high level of moisture, and then we were in the 80s. So that's what gives you your CAPE, and that's convective available potential energy. So that potential energy has been realized tonight in the form of these thunderstorms, and the lightning you're looking at there is really spectacular. It is banging away, and that cell is headed towards Cedar Rapids, and that is the one that currently has a tornado warning on it. So we're hoping that's dropped, but I got a pretty good feeling a thunderstorm warning at least is going to go out for Lynn County here pretty shortly.
Yeah, I would think so. So far, they haven't issued anything for Lynn County, but I think that would be kind of imminent here before long, at least, as you mentioned, Terry, a severe thunderstorm warning. But we are watching that storm there in Benton County, also Iowa County, at least the northern portion of Iowa County, still under a tornado warning until 9:30. Some circulation, as Nick mentioned, was around the Van Horn area. I'm still kind of seeing that between Van Horn and Newhall. A new scan did just come in, and nothing super tight that would indicate a tornado would be imminent and about touching the ground, but certainly I can see some broad rotation in that storm itself.
Yeah, and when we say Doppler indicated here, what happens with these giant thunderstorms that get up there 50, 55,000 feet? They are rotating in this type of situation. They're called supercells. And so the rotation is actually detected in the mid-levels of the storm because the radar is not right here in Cedar Rapids. It's well off to the east in the Quad Cities or Des Moines or up in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So because of the curvature of the earth, it's really hard to get down to the low levels. So what you're looking at here is most certainly rotation in the mid-levels, but getting that down to the ground is the trick if you're going to get a tornado. And so far we have not seen any evidence of that happening despite all the instability that's out there tonight. So that storm looks pretty healthy there. The other one that's down in the southern part of Benton County, not too far away from Marengo, looks a little off. But we've just gotten back to Nick, and he indicates that he may be seeing a funnel. So let's go back and see what he's got out there tonight.
Hey, Terry, you're looking off to just out of our northwest. Again, we were talking about that circulation near Newhall. We definitely had a funnel here momentarily. You can kind of see the bottom of the storm there. We're getting the picture fixed naturally. It's going out. There we go. We're back online. Again, we had a funnel with this storm right near the Van Horn area. It's starting to fizzle out a little bit, but it was really clearly defined there for about 30 seconds just off to our northeast. And you can kind of see the brighter clouds wrapping in on the top of the screen there. That is an RFD we've talked about before. It's starting to wrap around its circulation. We had a funnel. It is now dissipated, but that was a definite funnel with this storm near Van Horn.
And I can confirm that on the radar here. You can see our circulation has really tightened up there between Van Horn and Newhall. Right in this region here is where we've got a pretty decent couplet now. Still a little bit broad, but it would indicate that it's tightened up a lot, and that would be one of the reasons why we're seeing a wall cloud and potentially some quick funnels that have spun up with that storm. But I have not had any confirmation of anything on the ground, but Nick is certainly seeing some circulation associated with the storm there between Newhall and Van Horn moving off in an easterly direction, and that is going to take it towards the northern part of Lynn County in the next 15 minutes or so. What I'm going to do now is get you a little fan here, and we will get some cities on here that are in the path of this storm. This is one of the stronger ones we have on here right now, and as it moves off to the east, it looks like Palo and then eventually Hiawatha would be in the path of that cell right now, which has definitely tightened up and intensified just a little bit. Brandon, anything on the chats that you've seen?
They've canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for Grundy and Tama County, but it still remains in effect for Black Hawk County. That is until 9:45. The main threat with that storm are the winds. 60-mile-per-hour gusts can't be ruled out with that storm, as well as quarter-size hail and the torrential rainfall that a lot of these storms are producing, considering the moist atmosphere that we have in place today. A lot of water there in the atmosphere, so if you get under one of these storms, you can expect some torrential rain. So that's the main hazard with that storm. Again, the warning has been canceled for Grundy and Tama, but severe thunderstorm warning continues for Black Hawk. As far as the other warnings that we have, nothing new as far as those go.
All right, so Buchanan, tornado warning out for that part of that county. Also, that's till 9:30 anyway. And then you talked about the storm off to the west there. Looks like it's going right through the Waterloo metro area as we speak. And we can get down to street level mapping here. And the worst of it has probably passed on through Cedar Falls from the looks of things. But there's the Waterloo airport, and some of the heavier parts of the storm has now moved southeast of there. So right now, in the heart of Waterloo, a strong thunderstorm passing through there, moving in an east-southeast direction. And then further to the east, there's Independence, and there's still some strong cells there. That's been going on for a while. And then you can see that storm kind of works its way on southeast towards Rowley, and east of there, a really nice healthy core just southeast of Winthrop, and that's the region where we do have a tornado warning in effect. So if you're in that area there just southeast of Winthrop, down towards Monty or Masonville, got a pretty strong storm coming in your general direction.
And they just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for northern Benton County as well as Buchanan County. 60-mile-per-hour winds as well as quarter-size hail. The storm was near Fairbank as well as Jessup to the 7 miles south of the Crossroads Mall. It is moving southeast at 25 miles per hour. Again, Independence, Jessup, Hazleton, Brandon, Aurora, just some of the cities and towns that are in the path of that storm.
So it's kind of getting to the point now where we've got so many warnings out, kind of hard to see who's under a warning. But the bottom line is if you're anywhere close to Highway 20 down to about Cedar Rapids, the threat is certainly there for strong thunderstorms to continue for the next 1 to 2 hours. And I did want to go back into that southern storm now and see what's going on with this. There you can see our tornado warnings that are out. And Nick did have a picture of that one little bit of a funnel cloud there, which was off to the west of Newhall. And so that's where that storm is currently found. And we're going back to our velocity mode. And we shall see still some rotation there just to the north of Newhall. And Nick is out in that area. If we get a signal for him again, we'll go back and see what he's seeing with the picture. But he's kind of out in the middle of nowhere land there and having a tough time getting back to us. But I guarantee you that's a pretty hefty cell there with no doubt some strong winds and some very heavy rainfall. And speaking of the rainfall, Brandon, these storms have really been putting it out. There's just so much atmospheric moisture today. inch or two of rain in one of these storms, not at all out of the question.
No, in a very short amount of time as well. That's why we have flash flood watches that are in effect pretty much from Highway 30 all the way north to the Minnesota border. So with these storms capable of producing 1-2 inches, maybe even more, considering the slow nature of these storms. I mean, they're I wouldn't say they're crawling along, but 20 to 30 miles per hour is generally the storm motion. So that's slow enough that they could really put down some heavy rain in a short amount of time. So flash flood watches are out from Highway 30 up to the north through about early tomorrow morning around 7 a.m. was when a lot of those do expire. So flash flooding certainly could be possible with these thunderstorms as we head over the next several hours, even into the overnight.
All right, we're going back out to Nick Stewart now, our meteorologist in the Road Warrior, and he's got some new visuals to pass along to us. What are you currently seeing, Nick?
To the east, we're now in the Newhall area. After that funnel, the storm pretty quickly completed. Pretty much the circulation kind of completed itself and wrapped up. And it looks like it's not trying to do it again. So we're kind of keeping a close eye on it. The other problem that we're starting to have is that the storms off to the south are kind of starting to munch on it. They're kind of mess with its inflow. So I have a feeling the new storm that'll be a main concern. They're all going to be a concern because they're tornado warned, but the main concern down here that we're going to start moving toward is that southernmost cell approaching Blairstown. We're going to start dropping south on that storm here in the near future and trying to visual on that because I think the northern part of the storm might be kind of wrapping up just because the circulation is kind of getting cut off a little bit.
Sure, that makes sense. Anything else you want to pass along, or we'll let you get on your way?
There's two things to mention, obviously, that we've kind of been talking about and stressing is that, again, very, very heavy rain with these storms. If you're driving around at night, make sure you're taking extra precautions like we are to make sure that you are not driving into flooded roadways. It takes a split-second miscalculation and you're in flooded water and kind of need help. So make sure you're keeping very, very vigilant of flooded roadways. Also, again, the lightning is another concern. More people die by lightning every year than tornadoes. This is a prolific lightning producer. If you hear thunder, go inside because it is a very big concern with that. So we're now heading south on 218 from the Van Horn area, and we will be going to intercept that southernmost cell that's currently leaving Iowa County and now moving into southern Benton County.
All right, Nick, that sounds great. We'll be back to you here in just a little bit. Of course, let us know if something changes out there. We'll get it to our viewers as soon as possible. And now we're back to our radar here, which continues to show strong storms well out now towards Brooklyn. That's out along Interstate 80 west of Williamsburg. Some new development there. Storm close to Marengo there. Those extend on to the northeast just about to Center Point. And then, of course, here in Cedar Rapids, we have thunderstorms approaching from the west. If we can go back to our live Skycam, we're going to show you some of the lightning that's occurring out to the west of us. Pretty much nonstop. Don't see a lot of cloud to ground out there, but definitely some flashing going on. So that storm is one that's going to be moving into Lynn County and Cedar Rapids very shortly already into the western sections of Lynn County. So far, no warnings on that one for Lynn County, but I suspect that's going to change pretty shortly.
I would think so too. They haven't issued anything for Lynn County, but the storm is just getting into the county right now here pretty shortly. So I would expect at least a severe thunderstorm warning, but that's for the National Weather Service to decide, and we'll be here to let you know. Grundy County now under a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued here within the last couple minutes. Grundy County until 9:45, winds of around 50 miles per hour. The main threat with that storm will be about quarter-size hail and, of course, the heavy rain that these storms are producing.
All right, so Grundy County now under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45 this evening. And further east, you can see strong storms continue around the Waterloo area. These have been moving through the Cedar Falls, Waterloo metro area in the past 15 to 20 minutes. I can assure you there's been some very heavy rainfall there and a tremendous amount of lightning in the storms. And here's what our reflectivity is looking like. So the heavier rains appear to have moved a little bit further southeast of Waterloo, but from Dunkerton back down just southeast of Waterloo there towards the town of Orange and just east of Hudson, some very heavy rains, and those extend over towards Gilbertville and Raymond, moving off east-southeast. And not to be forgotten about, we do have strong storms up here near Highway 20 and maybe a little bit north of that too. You can see just to the north of Dunkerton there, thunderstorms extend on up towards Sumner, and then there's other storms that are up around Kalmar that we do not have any warnings for, but they're still producing heavy rain and lightning. And then further to the southeast, there's an isolated cell near Clayton that's crossed the river over the Mississippi, and another one there just to the south of Strawberry Point back to Lamont and Winthrop. And this little area right down in here is where we continue to have a tornado warning in effect. And so that is near the Quasqueton area, maybe southeast of Winthrop, between there and Masonville. Some circulation showing up, but it does continue to be pretty broad, but at least we can detect where there is some rotation in the storm there, just to the southeast of Winthrop and not too far away from Quasqueton. And then further south, here's the next area of concern, and there you can see Newhall, and just getting in tighter on this. That circulation has definitely shown a little bit of improvement in terms of its structure. And you can see that little yellow bar in there. Right in this region here is where we would be looking for some circulation. And that area is under a tornado warning. So if you're in that region there, just in the northeast of Newhall, be advised that's a very strong storm, and the potential does exist for at least a brief tornado spin up there. And that one is moving off in an easterly direction.
And we've been talking about these storms producing heavy rains, just heavy rain producers, no question, wherever they track. The National Weather Service has just issued a flash flood warning for Buchanan County. We've been talking about that storm, it seems like, for about the last hour or so. It just seems like new storms keep getting ingested into the ones that are passing through. So the storms just keep reforming over that same area. We call it training, and therefore a flash flood warning is in effect for Buchanan County until 3:15.
Does it have any indication on rain totals, what they're anticipating in there, Brandon?
I can look here.
Sometimes
in the morning.
the warnings are very specific about, X amount and X amount of time.
They say according to their Doppler radar, it's indicated up to 2 inches of rain have already fallen. So they're expecting flash flooding to begin very, very shortly, and with additional thunderstorms moving right into that same area here over the next several minutes, next hour or so. You can probably add maybe another inch or two of rain on top of that. So you're looking at some very saturated ground in a short amount of time, and with it being dark now, if you're going to be out and about, you certainly want to be mindful of some flooding roads. They can come quick, that water can, and it's one of the deadliest things that kills more people every year than lightning and even tornadoes is flash flooding. So you want to be mindful if you're going to be out and about, especially all over eastern Iowa tonight, as we have that flash flood watch in effect pretty much from Highway 30 up to the Minnesota border, but a flash flood warning for Buchanan County right now until 3:15.
And just looking at the Doppler estimates here, you can see that little blue dot between Owine and Independence. That estimate there is 2.1 inches. That other storm we've been talking about there just to the east of Winthrop and Quasqueton, 2.1 inches there. And then near Dunkerton, 2.6, and northeast of Waterloo, about 2.5 inches. And I'm sure as we move further to the north, even larger totals than that will be a possibility. There you can see 2.4 up there just to the southwest of Sumner. So a lot of parts of our northern viewing area, just in this storm alone here in the past couple, 3 hours, has picked up anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain, and that's the reason for the potential flash flooding and the warning we just saw issued.
And we've been talking about Linn County, how a warning would be imminent, and they have just put out a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Benton County as well as Linn County. It does include the Cedar Rapids area, Cedar Rapids, Benton, Marion, Hiawatha, Mount Vernon, center point in the path of this storm. It's moving east about 25 miles per hour. You can expect quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And of course, we've been watching the lightning pretty much non-stop here for about the last 30 or 40 minutes or so as the storm continues to move in from the west. So you can expect a lot of lightning and some heavy rain as well with that severe thunderstorm.
And one thing that I would say is good about that is that coming out of Benton County, that's where we have a tornado warning in effect. They did not extend the tornado warning. They went severe thunderstorm, and that's a good thing. That does include the fact that there's probably not much of a circulation left or not much anticipated as it gets a little bit further east. But it's still going to be a potent storm here in Cedar Rapids with some heavy rain and probably some strong winds that could go over 50 miles per hour.
And they've expired the tornado warning for Benton County. So that will expire here, I believe, at 9:30. But we still have the tornado warning in effect for Buchanan County until 9:30.
So our longest tornado warning is still out here until what, 9:30?
Until 9:30, yeah. They're expiring the one in Benton and Iowa County, so they'll let that expire at 9:30. And then they still have a tornado warning there for Buchanan County. That that is still in effect until 9:30. They haven't really, well, that just came across now. They're also expiring that one at 9:30.
So it does appear that there is a chance that the tornado warnings will all be expired or canceled by the time we get to 9:30. So if that is the case, we'll be going to our newscast. Is that correct? Okay. So if we drop the warnings, we will be moving into our nightly newscast where we will continue our coverage, but it's still possible that additional tornado warnings could be put out. And if that's the case, of course, we'll continue to go at it here. But hopefully by 9:30, all the tornado warnings will be gone. But you can still see there's a tremendous amount of severe thunderstorm warnings and the potential for more as this all moves southeast. About 4 big supercells, big clusters of lightning there from Manchester and Waterloo to Grundy Center, and then further southeast. And I guess Nick's back with us now. What do you got, Nick?
We're approaching Blairstown. We have our camera in night mode. You can see the big lowering there approaching Blairstown. Again, the tornado warning has been dropped, but the storms are still kind of on the severe side. No tornado on the ground with the storm, but I wanted to kind of give you an update. This is what we're seeing on the ground in terms of the Blairstown area. Again, nothing on the ground, but there's a definite lowering with this storm.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting there. I don't suppose you can tell if there's any sort of rotation with that?
You know, actually, hold that thought. We might have a funnel actually dropping from that base. We're going to try to get past this tree line. If you want to hold with us, we have to kind of fight through town here. So really awkward timing. But there's definitely actually some type of lowering, looks like, falling from that storm. So if you want to stick with us for just a tad bit, we have to get through town here. And then we'll try and get a better view. But there's a definite, at least a wall cloud-like feature with this storm over Blairstown, but it kind of looked like there may have been some kind of funnel maybe dropping with the storm as well.
Now, can you tell us about your experience earlier today near Waterloo? That was a pretty prolific wall cloud. I've seen some pictures of that, and that thing was pretty close to making a touchdown.
Yeah, we had rotating rain bands pretty much around just in front of us by about maybe a quarter of a mile. That storm came very, very close to producing. If you were watching us live at the time, the storm even wasn't severe at the time. You know, after we started feeding the reports of what we were seeing on the ground, the National Weather Service issued that severe thunderstorm warning. So again, thankfully, we didn't see a definite tornado on the ground with that storm, but that Cedar Falls storm about just maybe 2-3 miles northeast of the airport, the Waterloo airport, was pretty intense there.
I've got the radar up, Nick, and I'm putting on your GPS position here. So we're going to zoom in on that, and I'll be able to point that out for you. Nick is located right here, and there's where the storm is located. That's producing some rotation right now. So he's kind of on the north fringes of that, but I'm sure you can cut back and get underneath the notch there, and we'll see how that goes in a little bit. But you're just about out of town, Nick, so hopefully the visibility will improve there. You won't have the lights to deal with anymore. And it sounds like Nick is off to the races. So as soon as we get him back with us here, we'll go back to him to see if he can get us some of the pictures of that lowering that we were seeing pretty clearly there. And one more look at our live sky cam here in Cedar Rapids. It does indicate that the storm is now approaching the city, probably a little rain already beginning to fall, and the lightning is getting closer and closer. So we do have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Lynn County, and that's out till when, Brandon?
That is out until 10:30. They just upped the wind to 70-mile-per-hour gust, as well as quarter-size hail. That is for southeastern Benton and all of Lynn County until 10:30.
All right, so here we go. Get a little better view of all that. There is Cedar Rapids. There's the metro area over in this region here. And then you look out to the west, and you can also see that strong storm that's just southwest of Cedar Rapids. And here's the other one that's due west, and that's all kind of converging on the Cedar Rapids metro area. So I would certainly expect to see some heavy downpours here and probably some winds that in some spots reach at least 50 miles an hour, perhaps a little bit more than that. But there's a good core there, and another one that's down to the southwest, just east of where Nick is currently located. You can see his vehicle is right there. So he's going to try and cut back in and come around this direction, which will get him out of the rain a little bit, and he should have some better visibility with that for sure. And there is the last tornado warning there. And then there's another one off to the northeast in Buchanan County. Those are set to expire at 9:30 this evening. So close. Brandon.
Very close, just a couple minutes away from expiring. The Weather Service said they will expire. There is no indication that they will continue those. There was a report around the Shellsburg area of a gust of around 70 miles per hour, as well as quarter-size hail. So that storm is now into Lynn County. It's raining, lightning out here. We can see that on our sky cam. So these continue to move to the east, 25 to 30 miles per hour. We have flash flood watch in effect from Highway 30 up all the way to the Minnesota border until early tomorrow morning. So you can expect some torrential rain. And of course, if you see flooded roads, do not drive through them. You don't know how deep that water is. And especially this time of night, it's just something you don't want to do.
And you can also see these storms that are going to move through Cedar Rapids and maybe just a little north of Iowa City there. They're going to be followed by additional storms that extend all the way from Grundy Center off to the west of Dubuque there around Manchester. So that line will probably eventually work its way southeast and come back through our central counties as we go through the next 1 to 2 hours, and perhaps that'll even get into our southern counties as we go through the rest of the night. So we are not done with storms by any stretch of the imagination. The tornado threat, though, which wasn't overly high, should be going down here as we go into the next 2 hours. I think primarily it's going to turn into a wind event, a heavy rain event, and perhaps here and there could be some hail in spots. So assuming that the tornado warnings are dropped here, we're going to go to our regular programming, and that means we'll have some news for you, and of course we'll have lots of weather updates in there as well as we go through this next 2 to 3 hours of storms here in eastern Iowa. Welcome back, everyone. A brand new tornado warning has been issued for a part of our viewing area, so we'll be talking about that here in the next 5 minutes or so. And you can see the area outlined in the triangular rectangle there, kind of an odd shape, but it definitely does include portions of Benton and Iowa counties until 11:15 this evening. This is a Doppler indicated circulation, so there is no tornado on the ground, and what's here is moving northeast, and it does appear that it will be approaching Norway as it moves in that general direction. We're going to go to the velocity mode here, which will show us some of the circulations within the storm, and just to the southwest of Norway there is where our circulation would be located, so about in this general region here. As far as couplets go, that is not overly impressive. In fact, I'm a little surprised they actually put the warning out for it, so I don't want to make it sound like there's nothing going on there, but that is not a strong circulation by any stretch of the imagination. So if there is a touchdown, it looks like it would be a brief one, and probably most likely in parts of Benton County, which is where the warning is out until 11:15 tonight. As you can see on the actual reflectivity mode, there are some strong storms coming up out of Iowa into Benton County now, and a lot of lightning associated with those, and some strong gusty winds certainly a possibility. But as far as tornadoes go, the atmosphere is getting worked over a little bit here, and I think that threat is rapidly diminishing, even though we've got the tornado warning in effect. And this is all part of a big line of thunderstorms that continues to advance across eastern Iowa. The storms just passed through Cedar Rapids. with 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. These other storms here near LaPorte City and off to the east of there, just south of Independence, also producing a heck of a lot of lightning there, and probably some wind gusts of 50, maybe as much as 60 miles an hour. So this is all advancing southeast and will eventually come across the rest of eastern Iowa. But as far as the north goes, you can see just a few light showers, maybe some isolated storms there. But north of Highway 20, most of the action of any importance is pretty well gone. So it's going to be along Highway 20 and south of there where we see the severe weather threat as we go through the next several hours. And Brandon, you got any more specifics on the actual warning?
The warning, again, this is nothing confirmed, just radar indicated. We're seeing maybe a little rotation in the mid levels of the atmosphere. Also about penny-sized hail with this storm. Don't have anything as far as wind gusts, but I wouldn't, suspect maybe about 50, 60 mile per hour winds with this storm as well. Again, it's going to be near Norway around 10:40, Walford and Atkins between now and 11.
Yeah, and then just looking at the base velocity, not much there, very small couplet. The actual velocity mode still showing some colors there, but that's a pretty broad circulation. And like you mentioned, I think it's probably more in the mid-levels.
Right.
And that's been kind of the way it's been going today. Our radars are pretty far apart here. We've got La Crosse, the Quad Cities, and Des Moines that we work off of. And from that distance, and thanks to the curvature of the earth, you got to get well up into the thunderstorm to see the rotation. So apparently it's in the mid-levels and has not gotten down to the ground. We've had no confirmed tornadoes anywhere in our viewing area, despite the fact we probably had at least 6 tornado warnings issued today. So in my mind, the primary threat from this storm, if you're in that area, is going to be some gusty winds that could produce some damage as high as 60 miles per hour. And right now it appears that it's in south central parts of Benton County and that the strongest storm is, and that is working its way northeast. Heavier storms have passed out of Cedar Rapids now, but new ones are developing out to the northwest, and those are now getting through LaPorte City, Brandon, over towards Rowley, that general region right in there. Probably some pretty strong winds, certainly some heavy downpours with that part of our viewing area. And off to the east of there, other strong storms now are just to the northeast of Manchester, and those have all been heading east-southeast. So a lot of storms on the radar right now. Things are getting a little more messy. The atmosphere is starting to get contaminated, so the severe weather threat quite a bit lower than it was maybe 2 hours ago, but all of these storms are still quite strong as they move off to the south and east.
And they are proficient rain producers as well. We certainly saw that here when that cell passed through Cedar Rapids here at the station. Rain was coming down at a very high rate. Our weather observation station measured about 3 inches per hour. So if it was going to rain that hard for an hour, it would have put down about 3 inches. So a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, and we are seeing reports of road closures due to flash flooding around the Independence area in Buchanan County. That's from the emergency management. Also multiple roads southwest of Maynard, Iowa and Fayette County are underwater. There are being reports of at least one water rescue on Highway 150. So I'm sure there's a lot of road closures and roads underwater throughout much of eastern Iowa here tonight as these storms continue to pass, and they are putting down some heavy rain. We do have a flash flood watch in effect, mainly from about Highway 30 up to the north to the Minnesota border through tomorrow morning. So as these storms pass, certainly can expect that.
And you were talking about the heavy rains. This is the Doppler rainfall estimates. And if you notice, they're just to the west of Manchester. There's our little dot where we did a query. It's showing 4.9 inches of rain there, most of that coming in a very short period of time. As we go towards Independence, maybe a little east of there, there's a 3-inch report just northeast of Owine, 4.3. Here we go just northeast of Waterloo. There's 3 inches, pretty close to Cedar Falls, 2.6. And as you get up even into our northern counties, the amounts are still pretty significant up there. Probably some areas seeing anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain. So the ground is very saturated, and where the heavier storms continue to move through, that's why we have the potential of some flash flooding. So just going back to the regular reflectivity mode, you can see that the heavier storms now are along and south of Highway 20. So that's the area that hasn't seen the heaviest rain so far, and that's a good thing because the big storms will not be going over those regions that have already had those 1 to 5 inch totals. I would also say down to our southwest now, our storm hasn't changed a great deal, that we have the tornado warning in effect for. Again, parts of northern Iowa and into Benton counties. Here's our velocity mode, and right now just not showing much there. So hopefully they will cancel this early, but at least for now, we still have a tornado warning in effect for that area just to the southwest of Norway. That's where our most likely circulation would be found.
And a couple new warnings. They just put out a severe thunderstorm warning for Delaware and also Dubuque County. So this does include the Dubuque area. This is in effect until 11:30. We're looking at 60-mile-per-hour winds. There were reports that this storm did produce 65 to 70-mile-per-hour winds around the Masonville area not too long ago, about within the last hour. So you can expect some gusty winds with that storm, as well as about quarter-size hail. And again, that's for Delaware and Dubuque County until 11:30, and also a flash flood warning has just been issued for Delaware County until 4:30 this morning.
All right, and what we're looking at now is what we would call a Boeing feature anyway, kind of a bow echo that's developed here just north of Dyersville, back to the east of Monticello, or very close to Monticello, and to about Anamosa. So it's that arc right in there that we're most likely going to see the best chance of some strong winds. And on our base velocity mode here, I would imagine that shows pretty well. You can see right there where the greens hit the reds. That's likely where your strongest wind gusts are going to be for the next few minutes, and that'll all be surging southeast. So anywhere ahead of that line right there that you're looking at, from say Manchester over to Dyersville, back down to Monticello and Anamosa, that's where we're most likely going to have the best chance of some wind gusts that could reach as high as 60 miles per hour. Not too long ago, a 65-mile gust in this general area right in here. Going back then to our reflectivity mode, you can see there's still a lot of heavy rain in those areas that are showed in red there. So that's going to be an issue for the next couple of hours, maybe as much as an inch in an hour's time. And then off to the west of that, you can see most of the storms now have left Waterloo, getting out of Black Hawk County. Northern portions of Buchanan County now starting to really lighten up as far as the rain goes. So the heaviest precipitation on an axis now from just southwest of Guttenberg back down towards LaPorte City, and then back to just to the southwest of Traer there in parts of Benton County, and those actually go back into Tama County too. So that's where we're seeing our heavier storms. These are moving southeast and hopefully should be out of our area by about 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that rotation has just really kind of fallen apart within about the last scan or two. I don't know if you can go to that, Terry, and kind of look at that there. And for Benton and Iowa County, that tornado warning storm is, I'm not seeing much of anything as of right now. Again, it looked all right not too long ago, but then, you know, the last couple scans, it's just been kind of dissipating, I think.
And it's really going into an environment now that's been worked over. The instability not nearly as great as it was earlier tonight, and the shear is also weakening. So anything in that area would be very brief if it was a tornado touchdown, and probably not strong at all. But if you're in the southeastern corner there of Benton County or far northeastern Iowa County, a strong storm moving through there with the potential for some gusty winds and perhaps a brief tornado touchdown. One thing we don't see a whole lot of right now is hail. There's a little bit of that to the southwest of Norway there, between there and Maringo. In terms of the overall size, I would imagine it's probably going to be around a 1/4 inch or less. Our hail algorithms show a little bit larger than that, but that's the hail that's up in the clouds. A lot of that melts before it even gets down to the ground. So not looking for overly large hail there, but you may see some of that in that portion of our viewing area. So that's one good thing there that we don't have to see too much of. And going back then to our lightning detection here, boy, you can see that storm does have a lot of that, and it's really popping down in that part of our viewing area. And as that cell moves on to the east, looks like it should stay largely south of Cedar Rapids, but the other storms to the northwest here will be moving towards Vinton, Center Point, Shellsburg, Robbins, and eventually Cedar Rapids, Fairfax, and then down towards Iowa City and North Liberty. So those are the major storms that we've got on the radar right now, Brandon.
Yeah, otherwise not seeing anything as far as anything confirmed from that tornado-warned storm on Benton and Iowa County. Nothing confirmed as far as anything touching the ground, but that is in effect again for Benton and Iowa counties until 11:15. A couple other warnings that we still have in effect. Delaware and Dubuque just issued a severe thunderstorm warning until 11:30. The main hazards there are some winds, 60-mile-per-hour gusts can't be ruled out, as well as quarter-size hail, and then a flash flood warning for Delaware County until 4:30. We also have flash flood warnings for Buchanan County till 3:15 and Fayette County until 12:30. Rain that we've seen from these storms here within the last several hours.
Yeah, so with our 50-mile-per-hour gust here in Cedar Rapids, we probably had about 7/10 of an inch of rain here at the station, but just 3 miles to the west, we did see a report of 1.25 inches. So it's coming down all around eastern Iowa. Actually, it's a beneficial rain in a lot of respects. It's been pretty dry around here in the past several weeks. So it was drying out, and this will be excellent for the grass and the pastures of eastern Iowa. But boy, you go to the velocity mode here, and right now there just isn't a great deal showing up. So tornado threat pretty minimal, despite the fact we have a tornado warning in effect. Hopefully that will actually be canceled here before it expires, which is what time? Somewhere around 11:30?
11:15.
11:15. So that's what it's out for, but I'll be surprised if it lives that long.
And if you see the dark greens up just to the northwest of Cedar Rapids, the National Weather Service just did put out a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Benton County, also Jones and Lynn County. It looks like we got some heavy winds, strong winds, 60-mile-per-hour gusts can't be ruled out, as well as some nickel-size hail with those storms, and that's until 11:30.
That's in this general region right in here.
Yep.
So that's out till 11:32. And those storms are moving more east-southeast, right?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so this whole line up in here, moving this general direction. Some of these storms further to the southwest, actually moving more east-northeast. But they're all going to converge into one solid line here that'll be moving southeast across the region. And there is going to be the threat of strong winds, very heavy rainfall, and perhaps some small hail. But most of that threat now is south of Highway 20. So slowly but surely, conditions improving from northwest to southeast.
And got a report of around Winthrop, Buchanan County, we have a flash flood, gravel roads covered in running water, which we've seen up that way here within the last several hours. They are under Buchanan County, for that matter, under a flash flood warning until 3:15 this morning. We did get reports of road closures around the Independence area, as well as multiple roads around Maynard and Fayette County also underwater. So that might be the problem here going forward, is some of the flooded roads from the heavy rainfall and some of the winds these storms are producing as well.
And what you're looking at here are the watches and warnings that are valid for eastern Iowa. All these counties in pink is where we have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 2 o'clock in the morning. In the green colored areas here, that's where we have flash flood warnings in effect. Down here where you've got orange, those are severe thunderstorm warnings that extend from Manchester and Dubuque back through Monticello, Anamosa, and just east of Cedar Rapids. And then, of course, down here in the red is where we still have our tornado warning in effect. So a lot of areas still under the gun for some significant weather here as this whole system starts to dive southeast. Just punching velocity mode here once again. Going to try and look into that storm that's down around the Norway area. Still not seeing much there to get too excited about, so no big changes with that cell other than the fact it continues to advance off to the east. So we're hoping that one continues to stay low in terms of its overall intensity, and perhaps even the warning will be canceled. And then this area right up here northwest of Cedar Rapids, that's where there's a pretty good chance that we're going to see some more gusty winds. And so again, going to the base velocity here, you can kind of see that bright blue area there. That's where wind gusts of at least 40 to 50 miles an hour will be a possibility, and all of that is moving off to the southeast and should be into the area here in the next 1 to 2 hours, probably more likely the next hour. And because we're getting to the late hours of the evening now, the instability of the atmosphere is starting to decrease. We've lost some of our heating here. It's still moist, but now that the storms have popped up, that's also taken some of the starch out of the air too. So severe weather threat slowly but surely going down here in eastern Iowa.
And those winds, I'm looking at our tower cam here, and we're seeing gusts of around 18 to 20 miles per hour. But I do expect once that storm gets here and those winds at least get to the station here, we should see these numbers go up. So I'll continue to watch that.
Also, if you look off to the east here, you can see in this region from Anamosa back down towards Lisbon, right on that line there where you see the reds bumping up against the greens, that is very likely where you're going to see a shelf cloud and probably some strong winds that could be over 50 miles an hour, and that extends on to the northwest, just west of Cascade, and then finally back up to about Highway 20. So that's the region right in there that looks to me like it has the best chance of seeing these strong winds from that first line of storms. And then you go back over in here, and there's additional threat for some strong winds from this batch of thunderstorms as that line moves on southeast. But that'll be the end of it. Once that gets on through, no additional strong storms are expected tonight.
And they did just cancel the tornado warning, so it is no longer in effect for Benton and Iowa County.
And that's a really excellent thing. I think we could have told them that, don't you, Brandon?
I think so.
Probably don't think it should have even been put out in the first place. But the bottom line is, lots of good news down there in Iowa and Benton County. The tornado warning has been canceled. So as a result of that, we're going to get off the air here so that you can watch some of the programming that's on for the rest of tonight. If there's any new warnings or issues, we'll certainly be back on. But for now, that is the end of our coverage for this round of severe weather.